Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Here is the long-awaited part 2 of the Tinfoil Tales and Conditional Release program crossover to look back at the year and think of what a clusterfuck it was and possibly look forward to the clusterfuck that will be. And in the meantime, I must say thank you, Vexatious Litigant, for making me do this. I was very much dreading this edit, but you made me do it because you have a road trip tomorrow, and I figured that you, along many others, may be doing the same. So if you got a road trip tomorrow, I hope this made it worth it. Otherwise, maybe you can listen to this after New Year's, where it makes you feel really depressed. Well, my bit at the end will make you feel very sad. And listeners, I must ask you for a favor. The beer plug today is that, of course, you can still get a discount with CRP10 at the checkout on CBCo.beer, but also if you could possibly vote for them in GABS, it's a big deal. Breweries depend on this shit, and it's really annoying and it's really silly, but honestly, if you vote for them, it looks good for us. Thank you very much. So if you could follow the link in the show notes and vote for them, that would do us a massive favor. Thank you very much and enjoy the show. Here is part 2.
Where did you go to school?
And here's your...
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason morons.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
So in July, we experienced the hard truth of Elon being in charge of Twitter when he introduced limits on our tweets.
That was weird.
Oh my God, that was the worst 72 hours of my life.
Free speech absolutist.
Yeah.
My Place continued their legal action against the Yarra Rangers, and they also put down more roots in the community, this time in the Gippsland towns affected by the timber industry closures. And a group of deregistered doctors gathered like ghouls around a young lady named Dazzle.
Oh, that live was absolutely horrendous to watch. So that was suspended Dr. Billy Bay, Dr. Miley Trin.
Yeah,
and
she
another,
sucks.
Oh, she does. And then another doctor that I can't remember the name off the top of my head here.
He's got a funny name. It'll come to me in a sec.
But they were basically telling her that she was wonderful for also refusing a vaccine. So Dazzle is a young lady who requires a lung transplant, according to her father. She requires a double lung transplant, but doesn't want a vaccine. Mm-hmm. So much like Vicky, she's in the same boat. So she's refusing to get, well, the hospital is, this is all according to the father. This has never been in court. We don't actually know her medical records. We can't verify any of this, but this is what is happening according to her father, Josh. And of course, she's a martyr for the movement.
Well,
and Michael Gray Grift was the other person that was on that live, talking about her being what's the word?
Yeah, she's a messenger. She was a messenger from God. There was lots of praying over her. Mm-hmm. But, they also make sure that every time they visit her in hospital that they get a photo of their merch.
Of course, the 832 merch.
It's disgusting.
As appalling as this story is, one of the things the pandemic has shown us is just that there are a lot of shit doctors out there most of whom have been rightly scrubbed from the ability to practice medicine.
Yes.
The guy in Tasmania who just lost his license. It's incredible. He actually told a woman who had received the vaccine that she was going to die of cancer.
She was stupid and that she was going to die of cancer. Incredible. Just incredible.
So at least one good thing has come, and a lot of these things, including Bay, have been flicked and won't be able to practice.
Yeah, it is.
That's good. I hope they don't ever. No, honestly, I don't.
Not good people.
Oh my gosh, they will be diagnosing everybody with a vaccine injury. It would be horrendous.
Oh, so exhausting.
Their minds are too cooked at the moment.
Yeah, it's wild.
So then everyone got a bit riled up about a book in Kmart. Oh,
There are books in Kmart?
Yeah, I know,
apparently, yeah. Satanic books too there, Jack. And there were more protests about saving the children, maybe due to a movie release, perhaps.
Sound of freedom.
Yep.
So we covered these pretty intensely. Both of our podcasts covered this pretty good.
I'm not done with this yet, but I just haven't had the time.
There's
to
so
really
much
cut
that's
sick on
happened
it.
since about
Yeah,
the Sound of Freedom.
I've only watched half of the film, but I've spent countless hours looking at Ballard just getting absolutely eaten alive, and also Paul Hutchinson, one of the promoters and producers, who has basically just he's a wealthy guy who's made money basically on financial instruments around real estate, but he's such an insufferable wanker. His whole thing is basically he's like, God complex, saving the children, but he also is not exactly perfect himself, having admitted to watching child porn because normal porn stopped working. So I'm really glad he's saving the kids. Oh, yeah, just a little preview for what you're in for Paul Hutchins' episode. Been talking this up for ages. Like all promises, I love breaking them. It's my favourite part of a promise. But at the same time, if I can get this fucking episode done, I just want it to be good. The next one will be on Ballard.
We do need to finish it off because Ballard has just become entirely discredited.
It is the funniest shit. Ballard is such a comedy of pain, and it's that thing of like, you want to be big enough to be able to grift in this movement, but you don't want to be big enough that people start paying attention to your affairs. Because if you're in this kind of field, chances are you have so much dirt on you, it's just not getting out because no one cares. But then once you're a Sound of Freedom guy, and all these people who have been, like the guys from Vice, but also the less well-known like Lynn Packer, and those guys who've been following him for years in the Utah scene, even Mormons who've been following Ballard and basically keeping an eye on him because they think he's a concern to their like religious movement. Man, it's been huge. So
it's so dodgy.
I've never seen someone fall from grace so heavily. But of course, they're in a cult. So the people who believe him will just think this is all a stitch up from pedos. But in reality, he is just an opportunistic grifter who came out and realized that saving kids was quite popular. And unfortunately, he also liked getting handsy with the help and also really likes money. So there's two vulnerabilities, and they have, really come back to bite him. Good fun.
We discovered, too, that we've been deceived about Australia Day.
Oh, no.
Australia Day is not real. We've got a new Australia Day. They even celebrate it. Sauce, what was the date in July?
It's I want to say it's the second Sunday in July.
But no specific date, just the second Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. It does change.
So it's a Sunday, so it's a shit public holiday. Why are they like this?
Which is going to be really interesting when Australia Day rolls around and they all merrily celebrate Australia Day and start talking about Anzacs and stuff when 6 months ago they told us it was a corporate day and that they would no longer support it. So let's see what happens when that rolls around.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently there was a charity thing called Australia Day back in the early 1900s.
There'd been a number of different dates for Australia Day. There was a date in April. The January 26th stuff, that really was driven by the bicentennial celebrations. Before that, it was the fourth Monday in January. So there wasn't that 26th of January date specified. And, of course, the January 26th date is the anniversary of the British establishing a colony in New South Wales. That's not nation, it's not the creation of a nation. No. The creation of our idiot forefathers, constitutional forefathers, decided to create the nation on January 1, 1901. Yeah. And we can't have a public holiday then because we're already, we're all badly hungover and
yeah, exactly. It's pointless.
It's already a public holiday.
I blame our constitutional forefathers.
Be ripped off.
Yeah. No,
I think they picked that particular Australia Day because that was in the early 1900s around the era of when they were flying the red ensign flag.
It was actually World War One. It was,
That's correct.
Well, a bit of a history on the flag again is that the blue ensign. The blue ensign was became the national flag. I'm going to say 1952. by Act of Parliament then in Menzies' time. Generally speaking, in World War I, Australian troops fought under the Union Jack.
That's right.
And in World War II, it was essentially the Red Ensign. So that all changed. And you might remember there was a flag actually made in Changi, the POW camp in Singapore, and that was the Red Ensign. The soldiers made that.
Well, soon we won't need to worry because Ricardo is currently spitballing and workshopping some new flags.
New flags. That's what we need. New flags.
Yeah.
They're terrible designs, by the way.
They are so bad. Yep.
Oh, God.
And look, also in July, we started a fundraising drive to build Joe and his family of 18 a house in Vanuatu. Joe and his large family had been living in uncertain conditions, to say the least, in the ghettos of Port Vila. Their home had been a jigsaw puzzle of corrugated iron and building materials scavenged from around the place. The home would constantly be swept away by tropical storms and cyclones.
That's shit.
And there's no running water there. Anyway, the drive had been organised by Rob Anderson, who was a victim of child sexual abuse and at one of Sydney's most prestigious colleges, and a good friend of the podcast. He actually was interviewed on the Conditional Release program some time ago, Joel. I think that was in 2022.
Yeah.
And he met Joe Gibson when he was in Vanuatu and found some peace. And our listeners were extremely generous, and we thank everyone who contributed, small amounts and large. And if I might just move forward, and with a bit of a spoiler alert, Joe and his family will be moving into their new home by Christmas. Before Christmas.
Wow.
It's a Besser block construction of 3 rooms, cyclone-proof. There's still a bit to be done, a water tank to provide running clean water and a few other bits and bobs. But 5 months after we promoted the fundraiser, the building is all but complete. You can have a look at my Facebook page. Have a look there.
I love that.
18 lives changed for the better. Children with greater opportunities. And we done good, folks. It's a good thing that we did there.
Yeah, that was
well
good.
done to Rob.
Yeah.
And then moving on to August, less satisfying news. A grand jury approved an indictment against us on August 1 against Trump. This is number 3, charging him with an extraordinary conspiracy that threatened to disenfranchise millions of Americans. And this is now known as the 4-count indictment brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith. The trial was scheduled to kick off on March 4. Right slap bang in the middle of the US primaries. There's some doubt about that now, as I said before. The constitutional capacity to prosecute a serving president will be determined by the SCOTUS before the trial. And then 2 weeks later, a Georgia grand jury brought a 41 felony count indictment based on Georgia's RICO laws, Racketeering, Influenced and Corrupt Organisations Act. It's state law, so federal pardons won't work.
No.
He would have to be pardoned by, I think, the Georgia prisons basically would have to.
Wow.
Because most significantly, it comes with a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years if found guilty.
Yeah.
You know, the mandatory minimum sentences are much beloved by conservatives, right, by the way. And it is something of an irony that the Trumpster might face one. There are 18 co-accused. Lawyers Kenneth Chesborough, Sidney Powell, they've flipped and plea bargained. They offered apologies to the court. Not, I would say, all that satisfactory apologies. Neither of them accepted that or acknowledged that the electoral fraud thing was a nonsense. There have been others that have flipped. And the rumour is that Trump's Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, has flipped as well, which would be very significant for the DC 4-count indictment and Georgia's 41 felony count indictment, because Mark Meadows, as his Chief of Staff, would have been in the room every time Trump was holding conversations. It's just really significant. And a quick look at the resumes of Trump's co-accused shows a group of people pretty unlikely to enjoy a 5-year holiday in Georgia's notorious state prisons. So more are bound to flip. But the key, as I said, is Meadows.
He's fucked, which is good.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. I don't know that it is. I don't know that it is. I'm very pessimistic about it.
So the case brought by a My Place member against Yarra Rangers was heard. The premise seemed to be that the council must approach every single person in the LGA personally on every single issue.
Okay.
And cease all business with the WEF.
That goes without saying.
That goes without saying.
Yeah.
The case was eventually dismissed, not just because it was a bit silly, but also due to the person having no standing, as he didn't live in the Shire of Yarra Ranges.
That's very funny.
What
Just
an idiot.
rookie mistake on that one.
Yeah, rookie mistake. Rookie mistake.
Yeah, that's very silly.
My nemesis, Morgan C. Jonas,
that's your nemesis.
had a live show with a collection of whack politicians and alt-news media folk, with almost everyone taking a swipe at the leader of the Victorian Liberal Party. Matt Lawson started his sponsored walk, and let's all be honest, no one on this podcast thought that he would make it as far as the Victorian border, and he walked allegedly all the way to Brisbane.
Well, he's the only one that I know of that has walked all the way from Thomastown to Brisbane. And he's sort of, I think he's due for an entry in the Guinness Book of Records.
Absolutely, Australian of the Year.
I was impressed, but I think it is important to say that he allegedly walked to Brisbane.
Allegedly,
correct. He had support teams.
I think you're being harsh.
Okay.
I actually thought he'd be in hospital for about 3 months, but he wasn't. That's the thing I'm a little bit suspicious about.
He started off, he had a cold, and he had shoes that didn't fit him, and it was just an absolute cock up. The idea that he got to Brisbane basically on the back of a cold that wouldn't go away because he's just inherently unhealthy, and the fact that he had no preparation whatsoever, I find it very difficult to believe that he did those paces. I do not fucking believe it. And
just walked out the door, closed the door in Thomastown, off he went in the Dunlop volleys.
He did some of it because those feet were pretty bad.
Oh, he did a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think he did all of it. I think he did maybe half.
Yeah, I think those toilet breaks that he was taking where he admitted that he was getting a trip back to town to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, the person driving would be like, I think this is where I picked you up, Matt. And he's like, no, this isn't it. It was definitely at least another 10 kilometres down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, hate was met with direct action in the streets when a Save the Kids protest at the Drag Expo was literally pushed back and across the street by a counter protest. This one was magnificent. This one was very funny when they arrived pushing their giant speakers and discovered that there was a counter protest there waiting for them. Aww. And they couldn't get their speakers where they wanted to. It descended into a cops please come and save us medley from all of the leaders who were just crying that the police
come and save us.
Wouldn't come and literally save their lives. It was fantastic.
They booked that spot, remember, Sauce?
Yes, they were like, but we booked this. And it's like, well, firstly, in Victoria, you don't need to lodge paperwork.
Public forum,
And secondly, you don't book spots.
Public spots, yeah.
But it was very funny because, there was a few people there who are used to saying whatever they want, and discovered that there was some real grown-ass men who arrived who were not going to take a backward step at all. And there was a little bit of yarding going on. Remember in the lead up to it, Brad had been complaining that he had like a boil and he was doing like all these weird natural treatments on it. So they were asking him how his infection was, how's your boil, mate? Did you get it lanced?
Did you piss on it?
So they were so outnumbered. They were probably outnumbered 3-1. And instead of being out the front of the Drag Expo, they were across the street, out the front of Merrywell Burgers, I think it is there, just trying to talk. And again, no one listening and people walking past giving them very strange looks. It was another resounding defeat.
And I just want to add here, Sam T. Drag, who was very much targeted by these people for wanting to provide Drag Queen Story Hour at Eltham Library. She turned up at the front and shimmied her way inside to her drag expo and didn't give a crap. She was not going to go through the side door. No way. Not a chance.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And brave.
Absolute legend.
Yeah, well done.
September rolled around, and in bad news for Sauce, Donald Trump was quietly installed as the King of Scotland.
We gotta discuss this very briefly, because the last King of Scotland, of course, is Idi Amin.
Yes, correct.
And so
Yeah.
I don't know whether we've made any progress. But yes, that's of course that was the title that Idi Amin bestowed upon himself. There are others, but we'll get to those in a little while. But yeah.
Well, apparently now we've got Donald Trump.
Great.
How did that happen? Who came up with that nonsense?
It was on Telegram, so it happened.
No, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
The mainstream media just didn't want you to see it, Jack.
Yeah, look, yeah, exactly. I got to tell you, I did miss it.
Turn off your television. Turn off your television. You can only get your news from Telegram or Kaz. These are the only two reputable news sources in Australia.
Yes. King of Scotland. I don't think he like Amin, he didn't actually turn up for his coronation. Idi Amin's full title was His Excellency, President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Haji Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC, DSO, MC, Lord of all the beasts of the earth and fishes of the seas, and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general and Uganda in particular. It's quite something to put on the business card, isn't it?
That's just dumb.
So then the two men charged in relation to the fire at Old Parliament House were in court for their hearings and subsequently found guilty.
Oops. Yes. And remanded and not remanded in custody.
No. Weird.
No.
Off you go, guys. Go and think about what you've done.
And suspended doctor at large Billy Bay won the referendum. Hooray!
He did.
Yay! Asshole.
Hooray!
Yeah, he went all the way to the High Court,
done,
but he
Billy.
actually didn't.
Not really,
as
no.
I understand it.
No. But I think he won something at some point, somehow.
Oh, he's always winning.
Award.
Everything. He won everything. Because even though he didn't win the referendum, the fact that he wasn't declared a vexatious litigant then became
that is quite a interesting bar. Look, it actually really is difficult to be a vexatious litigant in any state, and it should be, because honestly, I get the whole natural law jurisprudence bullshit behind it, but when it comes down to it, you look at some fuckwit like Billy Bay, you don't need to give this guy due process over the course of a decade of frivolous lawsuits that harm people because he thinks it's funny. It's very quick to determine that this person is not suitable for the responsibility that having access to courts grants him. He needs to just be limited.
It's actually very difficult, Joe. You might want to comment on this. It's very, very difficult to have someone pronounced a vexatious litigant. It
in
needs
some
to be done by
situations,
Supreme
it should be
Court.
hard. It should be easier.
And someone needs to pony up and take that action on.
Yeah, it's a lot. And look, honestly, Billy Bay, you could just look at his Facebook and be like, this guy, he shouldn't have access to the courts unsupervised. Yeah, good. Yeah.
The best part was when Tricky said that it was a bit silly, so then Billy shot off a cease and desist to Tricky.
Oh, God, shut up.
And then Nick Patterson then jumped on the bandwagon saying that Billy is silly.
Billy is silly. I agree with Nick on that. I agree with
too.
Nick Patterson. Let's just frame that on the wall.
Oh, they're lovely.
And then
lovely bunch of people.
Great guy.
My favourite was finding when Billy found out on a live that his case was thrown out because one of the someone in the comments broke the news though before he got to read it, which was hilarious.
That was very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very, very good. Was that on Grey Grift?
I think that was actually him doing that whole, I won, we've won. I actually think that it was quite detrimental to Billy's standing in the movement, because an awful lot of them called him out and were kind of saying that he was making false promises and all that kind of stuff. So I think it kind of backfired on him.
It is very strange to watch someone like Billy Bay who just says the most delusional things with that dumb confidence, and he has no real charisma, he has no real purpose. He just says stuff that people want to hear, and they use that as I'm glad someone's saying it type thing. But at the end of the day, generally speaking, you do have to either have some kind of charisma or some kind of gravitas, and he just says stuff. And eventually you're going to have people who are vaguely intelligent with a vague sense of critical thinking to be like, I think this guy might be full of shit, and I don't know why we listen to him. And from there onwards, I mean, the dominoes tend to fall down.
Well, and then Tricky did a very dramatic video,
he did,
basically writing him out of the movement, which was really interesting. And then Billy said that he wasn't able to get a job, because APRA weren't letting him work in any capacity anywhere.
Yep. So give me money.
And then,
That's just a lie.
Billy stopped getting donations, and then, anyway, we're going to have to do an update on him. We're just letting his story play out a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's just ridiculous.
He is a fucking cartoon character, but not a fun one. A sad, weird, dumb one.
Yeah. So then we had protests to save the kids that continued. The Age ran a story about librarians getting death threats, and someone wondered if it was a coincidence that Melbourne is a Rothschild city and the Melbourne Footy Club mascot is a demon.
That is,
they're just asking questions.
It's pretty coincidental.
Yeah.
I mean, if in your society librarians are receiving death threats, there's something a bit wrong, isn't there?
I think so.
There's clearly something a bit wrong there.
Yep. Totally fucked in the head.
And the month came to a close with worldwide rallies for freedom. So, Joe, you went to Sydney, and were you chanting "Let Guru Speak"?
He was.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't chanting that because, to be honest, I didn't want to hear fucking Guru speak. It was much funnier watching them all shit their pants because they were being oppressed by the man. So I will say, as far as 2023 goes, meeting Dave Burgess and his mate Gemma for these protests was a highlight of the year for me. I really enjoyed it. During the pandemic, for various reasons, I didn't turn up to the rallies. There's fairly good reasons in there, but sometimes it was just the fact that I didn't want to go alone. It seems weird wandering around. I'm not Chris Brune, I like having people around me. So I figured that basically I knew that during the pandemic, not turning out to these protests, I would look back and think, fuck, that was a missed opportunity. But only a part of me regrets it. It was weird. There was one very close to my house at one point, and I'd sort of walked past, and I'm like, that just looks violent and weird. I don't want anything to do with that. So I did go to 2 rallies this year, so we'll talk about the second one later. The first one was the No Vote rally, and it was held by that libertarian fuckknuckle and depressingly elected MLC, John Ruddock, who basically got right-wing US digital radio network TNT to sponsor this fucking weird cooker event with a giant stage and LED screens, and it was weird. So Guru turned up with a shitload of ferals, and Ruddock had to pretend that he was happy about it, because at the end of the day, if Guru didn't bring anyone, it'd be a handful of people. But, as you said, they chanted for Guru to speak. And as expected, he made this event all about him. Old Beck Freedom was there with her megaphones being a fucking pest, let Guru speak and blah, blah, blah. But as with anything cooker-related like this, if it's not funny, it's sad. This was pretty funny. And just watching them sort of eat each other from the inside is great. But on the flip side, the crowd was terrifying. I mean, ferals is an understatement of the century. This just felt like I was in the middle of a group of people who want to kill someone. They're just not sure who and how gay they are. Like, it's just fucking scary being in that crowd and just thinking you're all on the edge. That being said, credit to cookers, nothing's happened yet. No pipe bombs, no massacres, nothing, nothing of note. Yep. And I do give credit for that. Mostly because I think they live in a fan fiction universe where actual action is sort of outside of the purview of that. But at the same time...
There was Wambler, Joe.
Well, there was, but that is kind of different. But yeah, and that's, it's... I'm expecting something more along the lines of, going to a drag queen story time or something like that. And that's why I think these people are so brave. Anyway, I digress. The really terrifying part of the crowd was Jesse Stewart, who, of course, is the son of Burn Spy 34, the mate of Scott Morrison, and basically is a man with a disposition of a meerkat on crack. He looks like he is severely drug affected. I'm not sure if he is, but he looks around at everyone to suss them out. So he's sort of checking out the crowd for I don't know. I don't know what meerkats look for. Threats? Predators? No idea. But realistically, I think he was looking for us. But he didn't seem to find us, so that's good.
I just got to interrupt you there, Joel.
Yeah,
it's transpired that Jesse Stewart was actually bankrupt.
Jesse Stewart?
Yeah.
No,
do you mean his dad?
Hey?
His dad.
This is
Tim
Scott
Stewart.
Morrison's Q mate, isn't it?
Yeah, but Jesse's his
Stewart.
son.
Jesse's his son.
Okay.
Might cut
The old man whose wife worked for Scott Morrison's wife as an executive assistant was a bankrupt during that period.
Oh, really? That is actually quite interesting because when it comes to the sort of the father's affairs of them, from what it sounds like, these news stories, they come and they go, but it sounds like he basically ruined his reputation, made himself unemployable, alienated friends, and really just sort of had a shit time of it. And this is what happens to a lot of people who get into these movements. And like the poor old Sound of Freedom guys who just flew a bit too close to the sun. Unfortunately, Tim Stewart really wasn't built for public attention. So, his son Jesse's terrifying and scares the fuck out of me. But otherwise, it was a massive all-star cast. There was Ruction and all those motherfuckers there. Fucking Anthony Kaloof was there with Diogo running around trying to be relevant.
Hey, where's the merch money? Did you ask him where the merch money was, John?
I fucking wanted to. I was definitely doing a low profile. It was my first rally, and honestly, when I got there and I saw the crowd, I was like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. This is just the personification of a police watch list, and I shouldn't fucking be here. But the thing that was interesting seeing it in person is the attention. And that is the thing, because these are all attention seekers, and they get it. You can see why they do this. Like, people are pulling Ruction aside. Ruction is just such a nobody of a human being. Pulling him aside, hugging him, telling me how wonderful he is. That is a person.
That's why he keeps coming back.
Of course, he's a rock star. But he's so far from being a rock star. He's just not a rock star person. He is an awkward dude with no talent. And yet in this movement, he's a god. So of course you're going to keep doing it. I mean, mate.
It's weird.
Even as a wedding photographer, no one gives a fuck what you do. So one lady hugged Guru and told him basically how much she meant to her, babbling over her words because she was crying.
It's like meeting Elvis. It'll be like meeting Elvis.
Guru. Not Elvis, Guru. Why would you care?
You'd want to hug the testicle too, by the way. You know you're going to catch something. You come away from that.
The texture wouldn't be
with a nasty
nice.
Sore throat and
it's
feel
just
a bit crook over the next couple of days.
He's a body of elbows. Anyway, so basically, when it comes down to it, it was a fucking weird cult gathering. They had free sausages, which were just fatty and stinky, and they're in a piece of white bread. I'm not judging too harshly, but at the same time, I ate and I was like, ooh. So I was talking to this guy toward the end when there was a whole hubbub about letting Guru speak, and they sort of went down, they charged down, and Roland Crystal was like, I'm not letting you up to the police, and blah, blah, blah. It's pretty fucking funny. This guy there, he was like, basically saying like, oh, this is pretty dodgy, Guru should be able to speak. And I was like, well, look, look at the controlled opposition at play here. Look at the money that has brought all this together. Of course they're not going to let Guru speak. They can't have Guru speak because this entire movement is co-opted by money like Craig Kelly, and I'm just planting seeds. And I thought that was kind of funny but kind of cruel. But then he's like, oh, I just had a sausage and I'm feeling it funny. I'm like, well, do you know what's in it? You got these guys who won't let Guru speak, and they just gave you a sausage.
How sausages are made?
Yeah, that's it. They put vaccines in them. That's what they fucking do. So I was implying there could be poison or vaccines in it. I didn't say that too explicitly, but I was definitely implying it. And he all of a sudden decided he needed to leave the event because he was incredibly concerned about what he just ingested, because he's a gullible, paranoid idiot. I felt kind of bad about fucking with the guy's head, but it was one of those things where I just had to see what it was like to just be like, okay, here's a person who is so impressionable, and I can simply say, oh, well, what if they poison your sausage, bro? And he could actually turn around and go, oh, fuck, maybe they did. They didn't poison your sausage. Well, maybe I'm more vaccinated than I was before the sausage. I don't know.
Guru reckons McDonald's is made from ground up children.
Yes,
babies.
Yes, the common denominator here is that these people were not smart. At no point did I look around and go, oh, that looks like maybe an academic or a teacher. No. They were early education tops. Really not smart people. Anyway, really interesting experience. The second was great as well. We'll get to that eventually, but fuck me. It was a bit of a baptism of fire. Going to that crowd, like I say, just the personification of a watch list. It was so dodgy. Some of the T-shirts. Ugh. Not good.
So Sandy and I went to the Melbourne one, yet again. National Socialist Network. We're also there, but the day started with Morgan being heckled, which was terrific. Then we moved into a series of people saying just don't vote at all.
Good.
Led by Darren Bergwerf, King Ulukai was there, who I discovered the other day apparently has billions of dollars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So does Senator Babbitt, apparently. Yeah. $800 million, according to Babbitt.
It's actually, just to interrupt, Albert Langer went to jail. You might remember he was a student activist, famously student activist at Monash University. And I couldn't tell you which election, but an election many years ago. He actually advocated that people vote for sort of none of the above. And he ended up being jailed for 3 or 4 weeks. It is actually an offence to advocate people not vote.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Well, that was the story of the day, was don't vote. And then we walked around and we went to Flinders Street because we took the traditional worldwide rally for freedom Melbourne route, because there's many protest routes. This was the traditional
end up on the Westgate Bridge.
The traditional Harrison-led cheerleader out the front with his giant flagpoles. Then all of a sudden, as we turned from Elizabeth onto Birch Street, the banner, the boys get changed because they've been there all day. They get changed. Now they're all wearing matching clothes and unfurl another banner. Luckily, a lot of the protesters didn't even realise, so they just kept marching, which was pretty good. They got a little bit of heckle from people. Some of them were not that bothered by them being there. It was just because they were wearing masks that seemed to bother them a little bit.
Show us your faces.
It was a bit weird.
The face nappies are so offensive.
There's irony
so
there.
Off they went, and then all of a sudden it became a sprint because they had to catch up with Harrison and the main group, and obviously the sacred steps is what it's all about. So they had to race past. So they raced past. They did get themselves up on the step. They got pepper sprayed pretty quick by the cops, pushed back down the steps, and then they set up next to the steps and ranted until they were completely owned by a hero in a green jacket who still no one knows who this guy is, who came down and basically just went to task on Tom Sowell and his ideology.
Nice.
Yes, it went a bit viral, didn't it, that video?
Yeah.
The Turkish guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very
good.
good.
Guy, I think, possibly Turkish, but he just absolutely tore him to shreds.
Yeah, it was very good.
Very good. We also had a guest come with us to that one, which was Emily Webb, who's a true crime author. Yeah, so she joined Sos and I for that day, and it was lovely.
She's fantastic, Emily.
She just wanted to see what it was like and suss it all out.
And something else happened right at the end of the month. Dan Andrews pulled the pin.
Yes.
Well, which one of his body doubles resigned?
Well, the clone. the clone, because the original one's in Gitmo.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, look, just very briefly, regardless of what you think of Dan Andrews, he was by any political measure a successful politician. I believe he's a brilliant communicator. We really don't have too many of that ilk. A person who says, this is the problem, this is how we're going to fix it, and this is how we're going to get there. And he does it clearly and in a way that, resonates with people. He's also, and this is the real measure of a politician, is their success, their electoral success. So he was Daniel Andrews when he first started as a candidate to topple the Baillieu failed government. I'm just trying to think who the clown was who was premier at the time. Knocked him over, and then in two successive elections, basically increased his parliamentary majority each time. You'd have to go back. I haven't gone back this far, but I think you'd have to go back to somewhere like Sir Henry Bolte, and I'm not just talking about Victoria, but Australia generally, to find a politician who increased his majority in 3 subsequent elections. It's very rare. Anthony Albanese could really take a leaf out of his book, just in terms of political communications.
Yeah, totally agree.
And that takes us that does take us to October and the referendum, which was probably the story of the year.
Yeah.
And
especially in the disinformation
what a disaster
space.
It was.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so by October we had reached peak disinformation around the referendum, with Albo debunking some of the wildest ones on TV, which was then edited and used as proof that the disinfo was right. The post-truth era is a lot.
It is. It's tiring.
Exhausting. After a long, drawn-out process, Theresa Van Lieshout was found guilty of falsely representing herself as Australia's Governor-General and for attempting to import fake police badges.
Yep.
Yes.
The biggest problem, it was so long and drawn out because she was psychiatrically assessed by numerous psychiatrists who all said that she was as mad as a cut snake, and she refused to accept that. So really, it could have dragged on not quite as long. But I'm afraid for Teresa, the bikini shots are probably done and dusted.
Oh, I say she looked great.
That's probably enough of Teresa. And really, again, I mean, she'd had some time served, but no jail term.
Yeah.
And it's like she was actually plotting, and she did it. She stood outside the Victorian Parliament House and was going to go in and hang people. She just needed some people with fake police badges to make it all happen.
It's amazing what they get away with.
Yeah.
Rod Cullerton decided it was time for farmers whose farms had been repossessed to just move back in.
Yep.
Oh, and then he ate a fly.
Oh,
His
fuck.
farm, yeah.
So he ate a fly, and then the police came and damaged an old door, and Rod had a heart attack.
Oh,
that was very, very funny. And he just, God, I really felt sorry for the coppers because they just turned up there. He was in an old pub.
Yes, he's renovating it.
He's
helping
renovating
doing
it,
the
but
work
he's
there.
renovating it with a partner who doesn't want anything more to do with him. And that was, so he was basically pulled up for trespass. And, it was domestic, that wasn't trespass, it was domestic violence orders, wasn't it?
Yeah. Poor Rod. All he wants to do
Rod.
is move home and
it
be
seems such
safe.
a long time ago when his proclamation was read outside the Parliament by Hoodie.
Yeah. So My Place Frankston had a party to celebrate their birthday, and Darren let the mask slip just for a minute, calling for people to hang until they're dead.
Well, not just hang until they just suffocate a little bit.
No, till they're dead.
All the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I love the fact that on Twitter we discovered that a band member who
Yes.
happened to just be on the stage at the same time that Darren made that speech had no idea what kind of event he had joined. And he made it very clear.
Yeah.
He goes, I was not there because I'm part of them. I had no idea I was booked. I'm just a random person and was devastated.
God,
So the referendum came and went with the vast number of Australians voting no. What did we think of the campaigns?
I thought that the vote yes spent far too long addressing issues of vote no. I think vote yes almost in the end cheapened what the referendum was about by saying, don't worry about it. They've got no power anyway.
They were always on the back foot.
Yeah, it was very back-footed campaign. I think that it became far too complicated for something that should actually have been pretty simple.
It was an absolute disaster. And then, look, the no case is essentially pretty easy to prosecute. It's change. It's, we're uncertain about it.
Things are fine. Don't worry about it.
Thing over. But the thing that I find offensive about it, and when we get to people like Mundine and the CLP Senator for Northern Territory, Jacinta Price, they talked a good game about Indigenous relations in this country, Indigenous reconciliation. But since the referendum, heard a peep from either. Well, I've heard a peep from Warren Mundine, who continues to sort of prosecute his conservative credentials on other matters. But have we heard anything about reconciliation, Indigenous reconciliation from those people since?
Never about that.
No.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
And they talked a good game. They said they were going to do these things. They thought they were going to, this is what we'll do. We'll establish councils. We'll do this, that, and the other. Nothing.
Yeah, no, it was never about that. And look, there's definitely useful idiot vibes there. When it comes down to, if you look at Advance, right, or Advance Australia as they were the guys behind Captain Getup humping a poster of Zali Steggall and thinking somehow that was going to make people in Warringah go, you know what? Maybe I don't want the lady on the hump sign. Like, what? They were the most embarrassing bunch of right-wing cookers who were basically just a fucking young liberal crew being like, oh, memes are funny, I guess. Now, Advance Australia, thanks to money from people like Sam Kennard, are quite good at what they do. Now, I don't know who's in there and what they're up to, but from what I can see from this campaign, they've got Yanks. They've got Yanks who have got the disinformation chops to push a good bullshit campaign. Maybe there's a stink of Cambridge Analytica in there. Maybe there's a stink of maybe some people who've worked with Steve Bannon. I don't know. I don't know whether it's even just people we've never heard of who are brilliant at pushing.
It was probably going to get knocked off anyway. And
But at this rate, this was won by memes. This battle was won on the internet, and it was won on the internet by Advance Australia's heavily polished new approach to disinformation. And it's not the last time, because they now have a playbook. They know it works, and we will never have nice things again unless somehow the left can counter it. And I tell you what, when it comes to these things, offense, it has 10 times the effect of defense, and that's what we saw in this campaign. The Yes campaign were on the back foot the entire time, and at no point did everyone say, oh, actually, no, that's a good point. The No campaign was just punching, and the Yes campaign was just in a fetal position on the floor. It's a real shame. And that will be the next one too, because these motherfuckers now know it works.
I don't think Jacinta Price can ever be forgiven for her comment that that Indigenous Australians, their lives have improved since European settlement.
That's insane.
Everything I don't think you ever let that go. Yeah. And let me tell you another thing about the way politics works. She will not be, there were is stupid op-eds saying that she'd be the next leader of the Liberal Party. Well, she's a member technically of the National Party. She caucuses with the Nats. So she can't be a leader there. She's also in the Senate. So it's all bloody ridiculous. They will burn her. They will throw her away. Right? She's an embarrassment.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I think she's basically in the situation. She was thrown under the bus to be a tokenistic opposition, which had limited use after the referendum. Yeah. And I would find it very difficult. The only thing is that thanks to the strength of ID politics, which was something, of course, was more or less born out of the left, you can have this idea of saying, well, she's Koori, listen to her. You can't tell anything. You can't say anything about that because she knows more about this than you do, because of her situation. And you're like, okay, cool. But she's also being paid by Sam Kennard to say that. So maybe that's not really how this works. But identity politics, man, it makes everything a fucking mess. You can't be judged on your merits anymore. And the right are weaponizing that because they whinged about it for ages. And they somewhat cleverly realized, hold on, we can just get someone who has that identity to say stuff for us. This is genius. And it's fucking work.
Yeah.
I'd
say a political career will not go any further.
Good.
You know what the fuck moment? Members of the NSN received the best wishes of a magistrate who said, good luck with the future, gentlemen.
Yeah.
In both your cases, your prospects of rehabilitation are good.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
One of them threw up the salute as soon as he got out of the court and has since been charged under new laws.
Yep.
It was an unbelievable comment.
It was.
And some of these magistrates, they just have no idea.
They don't know who they're dealing with. Them. It is madness. And I get the fact that, legally speaking, a lot of things may not have been relevant to the case. A lot of the things about these guys are distant to the charge itself. But to basically kiss them on the cheek as they left.
But the charge, Joel, was centred around them assaulting people.
On a racial basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty insane.
They weren't in there for something completely separate from their ideology. They were in there because they were in the Grampians doing their very ideology and bashed people.
Yeah. Well, it's mental. It's fucking mental.
It's just crazy. It just shows a complete lack of connection with society from some of the members of the judiciary.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Big time. Yeah, so basically October was the 1 year anniversary of Elon Musk buying Twitter, which was a fucking tragedy in itself. No children have died yet, as far as I know, but child porn is apparently on the rise on the platform. So children are being harmed left, right, and centre. While it is insufferable to listen to people talk about Twitter, and I fucking understand that, especially in the media, when you're like, if you're not on Twitter and people talk about Twitter, you just would be like, shut the fuck up about Twitter, nerds. But it was an important space. Well, it is an important space, and it was an important space because, let's face it, that's where we met you guys. Correct. That's how this all happened, and that's so special. And yet, since Musk bought this and made it into this fucking free speech utopia, we've seen controversial figures reinstated on the platform. And by controversial figures, I mean pieces of shit who should not have access to megaphones. Not just Beck Freedom, she buys her own. We're talking well-deserved bans from dangerous individuals who are basically just societal kryptonite. So, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to bring them all back on and see what happens? This is the proliferation of extremist content, and now he's monetizing it. Andrew Tate makes like $20,000 a month being a cunt on Twitter because Elon Musk decided to monetize being a prick. It is fucking insane. And of course, it got so bad that advertisers pulled out. Apple's bailed, Disney's bailed. Elon did his whole famous go fuck yourself thing. But it's quite funny because before, whether it was Randstad recruitment or whether it was a tech firm, now I just get ads for dildos and tasers. That's my Twitter feed. Dildos, tasers, and misinformation. Like, how the fuck
I don't know
do
what
I
you've
work
done
with
to
this?
have that as your
Do you not get?
Because I don't get any of that.
You don't get any sex ads?
No.
I get.
No.
I get singles
I haven't
ads.
ever received an ad for a dildo.
Yeah, no, I'm getting sex toys, man. It's fucked up. So
yeah, but again,
obviously, anything that I do that should make that convincing is in the line of research for this podcast. But when it comes to like the absurdity of the bottom tier sponsors, and of course, all these ads for tasers have these community notes saying, "Oh, by the way, tasers are probably illegal in jurisdiction. You might want to check that," because Twitter didn't. For fuck's sake. I have felt like I've had to back away from the platform. And it's like the cringe, but it's also being sort of part of something that I just fundamentally disagree with. But also, it's so annoying that some weird little fucking rich kid, South African emerald boy, decided this was just a really great way to get incels and racists to tell him how fucking great he is. It's just not necessary. Like, mate, sure, people babble about you all the time. You're the richest man on earth. But no, you need Jordan Peterson to say it for it to fucking hit. Jesus Christ, lay off the ketamine, you fucking asshole. But unfortunately, it appears there doesn't seem to be a quick way for this to end, which I would love to see, because my best outcome on this is that Elon Musk fucks this, the company has to be sold, and someone who runs it like it should be run does it, and it works. But that's not looking like it's going to happen. The company's hemorrhaging money, but the problem with Musk is he has more money than sense, more money than God, and he can keep this nightmare going for years to come. So, in the meantime, we have seen Musk promote Pizzagate. Yes, actual Pizzagate conspiracy theory. That is insane. When he did that post that said, "You have said the actual truth," on a post that basically described the Great Replacement, this is the theory that whites being replaced other ethnicities intentionally through migration policies, but also this is taking aim at organizations, especially Jewish ones, that help resettle migrants. I wonder why Jews might be interested in refugee policies. Maybe they have some sort of historical understanding of that. But I tell you what, that's why some guy walked into a fucking synagogue called the Tree of Life and killed 11 people. Said it very explicitly. That's exactly why. So, I wonder if having Elon Musk say that shit is the absolute fucking truth may wind up with a few more mags being packed in a backpack and taken to another fucking synagogue. That's really hard to imagine. It's not. Tucker Carlson has a show on Twitter. Tucker Carlson, he's not exactly
in breach of his contract, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Which of course he should be getting sued into oblivion to. But I guess the Murdochs are a bit busy keeping his father alive on basically just sort of supermodels and fucking dried fruit. But I shouldn't say that. You'll get fired. But now Alex Jones has got a show on there. What the fuck are you doing? It is just a cesspool of shitty people, and that's really hard because many of you guys on there is amazing. Vexatious Litigant, for example, does such amazing work. You guys still do amazing work on there. There are still so many reasons to love this. But it is so difficult to participate in a town square run by some fucking rich kid lunatic pushing theories that radicalize people to the point of committing massacres. And I will say, I miss Twitter already. I am so sad to see it gone. And one thing that I will say as a massive excuse to why the podcast sucks now is because I don't use Twitter for it anymore. I used to just go on Twitter and scrape shit. And it was an episode. It was like I spent an afternoon on Twitter and I had a fucking script.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of I can do it, but I kind of can't. Drive me nuts. So, yeah, I miss Twitter.
What do we do?
Fuck you, Elon.
So what do we do? Alex Jones was a big moment, right?
Huge moment.
And a number of people just came forward and said, I just can't be part of this anymore.
It's so hard.
And I tend to agree. And look, I've made a lot of friends on Twitter.
So many friends.
That I would never have met any other way.
Yeah.
But I think I've got, I don't know, I've got about 13,000 or 14,000 followers. I don't want to be part of it anymore.
Yeah, I find it very difficult. And look, this is also another thing of saying, I don't want to shit on you guys. Your presence on Twitter is very reasonable and measured and thoughtful. And as someone who still does browse Twitter, just doesn't post so much, it's that thing of I'm still kind of giving him dildo money, so I'm not really sure how much I'm helping. But at the same time, there's a part of me that's sort of hanging on with this thread of thinking this can't last forever. Surely this can't last forever. but it fucking might.
And I think I sort of was going to toss this around over the Christmas break, and I think it's probably just something I'm going to ditch it.
Well, I'm not going to ditch it by deleting my account. I still have a fond sense of it, and it's still one of those things that I'd like people to be able to reach me on. But I'm at a point where anytime I go to Twitter, and I don't have the app anymore, I go on my browser on the smartphone, and I cringe a bit when I do it. I type in twitter.com, and I just go, ugh.
Yeah,
I just love all the people that are on there and all the people that share all the stuff. There's so many good stuff on there. That's what I go there for.
Yeah, I know.
I just stick with the following one, the option for your news feed, following.
Yeah.
So you see stuff from the people you're following. That's where I go. And I go there to hang some shit on some people every now and again. That's always fun.
But it has become a real cesspit.
Oh, yeah.
It has.
Not just since Jones has been allowed on. I haven't even seen him tweet up anything, but it just has really. It was always could be a bit feisty. Twitter, if you really wanted to have a blue with someone, it could be easy enough to do. But it's really just become a cesspit of libertarian right wing shite.
It's awful. So we moved into November with just disappointing news because I spent all October, red October, waiting for something.
Yeah, it was going to be a lot of winning.
I'd been told there was going to be much winning, and there was no winning.
I thought the thing that was meant to be happening was going to be happening, whatever that is.
Guru was just absolutely certain that October was going to be a huge month.
Then November became November to remember. The other day I heard Bosie saying 3 to 6 months. God, these white hats.
Better hurry up.
Maybe Karen Brewer was right. So the man charged with arson at Old Parliament House was sentenced in November to 23 months. However, he will spend 8 months in jail with the other 15 months suspended once he signed a 2-year good behaviour bond.
Not a hard decision to make, you would think.
Correct. Pretty easy, I would have thought. The other man, Bruce Shillingsworth Jr., will return to court early next year for his sentencing. Why he hasn't been sentenced yet, I don't know.
It's just unbelievable.
Maybe the judge wanted him to get proper legal advice. Maybe, I'm not sure.
Joel has a theory that basically Brucey Jr. is out doing good community work.
Oh, he absolutely is.
And so
the good boy behaviour tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a fair bit of that. Let's just remind people, $5 million worth of damages.
Yeah.
That's all insured, of course. It's a federal building. Still. But also there were people inside the building that the day they set fire.
Feels weird.
Exactly.
Not perfect.
So in good news, Rod got out of hospital after his health scare, only to be set upon fiercely by a fake Monica Smit profile.
Oh, fuck, that's right.
Poor bugger. Like, it really knocked him around.
He's got a bum ticker, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to provoke another one.
It's cruel.
That's very funny, though.
After not being allowed on the stage at the Worldwide Rally for Freedom, Guru decided to have his own shindig. And Joel, how was the vibe?
Oh, man, it was interesting. So basically, Art's being denied the opportunity to speak at the well-funded No Rally with all the fancy lights and whatnot. And the working PA system. Let's face it. I just wish they'd come and be like, you know what? Maybe you look like a sound guy. What should we do? Turn down the mics, turn up the speakers, you idiots. Anyway, so they just hired a truck and did their thing where they turned into a stage. And to be fair, they did a really good job. They made it their own. And I tell you what, Jack is absolutely right about the hanging and flogging party. There was so much violent rhetoric on the day. Holy shit. Craig Cole is great. He's just there. And it's like he's got the microphone in front of him and he keeps it's almost like he wants to punch it. He's just a fucking weird guy. Anyway, he sort of emceed. It was just very odd. So I actually am happy to say that Bosie's turned down the violent rhetoric. So he said that the doctors and nurses, and also bizarrely the hospital administrators, will spend the rest of their miserable lives in jail.
Oh, but it's jail now.
It's jail now. They're not going to be publicly hanged. So, good on Bosie. Maybe he's been seeing a brain doctor or something.
Well, he's moved from the 16th century to, about the 20th century?
Oh, he's making leaps and bounds. Just wait till he turns out the future. Med beds for all the... Never mind. So, I would say that my favourite part of that event was the fact he had an economic theory that he was going to take all the money in the government and put it into bonds. And those bonds would become really valuable.
The government issues bonds. The government issues bonds.
We're
going to buy their own stuff.
We're going to buy them off ourselves. And that's going to make them valuable. And then we will be the richest country in the world. Americans will be like, fucking check out these Australians with these bonds. We should probably get in bed with those guys because they've also got a great military because that weird guy has somehow made the military super strong. And when he was talking about how strong the military was going to be, there was this weird implication that everyone in the crowd was going to be like in the military. It's like, okay, cool. I don't think you... No, I don't... I don't know. Let's not do that. So it was going to be strange. And the other thing that I really liked was that he said that people in Germany and Spain were able to marry cats and dogs, which everyone went, oh, that's terrible. And his whole premise was, we're going to have migration. We need migration. The crowd's like, oh, but he's like, well, we're not going to let them bring their cooked ideas with them. We're going to have Australian ideals in this country. And one of those ideals we'll never have here is marrying cats and dogs like those fucking Germans. And I'm just like, I don't know what
that was the Corey Bernardi. Corey Bernardi predicted that.
Corey Bernardi, to be fair, we don't give that man enough credit for his Nostradamus-like predictions. Fucking idiots. Anyway, look, these guys just mindlessly cheered for this dumb shit because they just have absolutely no sense of critical thought. Like, I must say, every now and then the truth is stranger than fiction, so I did quickly crack out my smartphone and go, can you marry a dog in Germany? And alas, no. Surprisingly enough, I did not receive the Companion Marriage Act of 2005 in my searches. No, it was basically just a bunch of Google saying, the fuck are you searching for? So are these people in a cult? Yes. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I've been listening to Let's Talk About Sex a bit recently, and some cults are pretty fucked up. But I tell you what, it's pretty close. Mm-hmm. It's pretty goddamn close.
Yep, I reckon they are.
But this is the thing, like, I really did. I've said this all through the episode. I wanted this to be over by now, but they've managed to get to a point where a charismatic voiceover artist who used to shoot people in the Middle East is now telling them that we need to stop people coming over and fucking marrying cats and dogs, and we're still going. So they're just so far down the rabbit hole, I don't think they can be retrieved. And this crowd, like I say, man, a walking, talking, breathing police watch list, and it's just fucking depressing to see that they're still going, and they'll still die for whatever fucking cause they've signed up for.
Pseudo-law adherents gathered in Melbourne for Remembrance Day to hear about fictitious crowns and a people's referendum. In a funny moment, Victoria's Governor Margaret Gardner was told to do your job, David Hurley.
One of them. There's one of them.
They look similar, right? Right? Fuck's sake.
Craig Kelly attended a dance concert in Adelaide with a camera crew from Sputnik. Seems a bit weird. Wonder who paid for that.
Yeah.
That's one of the funniest things I've seen. A little Russian dancing concert with Craig Kelly in attendance with a camera crew.
Sputnik's like the Russian news agency, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So fucking weird. Yeah, it's very funny. Because, like, you could also see, like, that, you know, a crew from Sputnik, and I'm like, hold on, I just want to clarify, not the space station. No, the media organisation.
Crackers has threatened to sue, is it Queensland University?
Yeah. I think it's like Bond or something like that.
Over their fact-checking thing. But as yet, no writs have been.
Well, that's because he would suffer a humiliating defeat, which you just can't imagine.
Kind of Bruce Lemon BRS type defo that was going to land you in more trouble than you're in.
I would enjoy watching it, though, I must say. I would really enjoy watching it. Look, I'm just looking at his Telegram now. Oh, my God, this is just absolute poison. Jesus Christ.
So my copy of Cell 22 arrived, along with some freedom stickers and some wristbands.
Nice.
And I've since learned I have a special copy. And by special, I mean riddled with mistakes.
Oh, no. Is that like a
how bad is it? How bad is it, Sauce? Is it just really bad spelling mistakes?
Look, the spelling mistakes almost go unnoticed.
There's so many of them, you just ignore them after a while?
Just really poorly written stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like most pages, I find I have to read them more than once.
Oh, fuck,
because I
that's
kind
so
of get,
great.
and I haven't retained anything because it's just like literally words on the page.
Talking about someone who's just read something out to a dictaphone and then had it typed up, possibly?
No. The bits that she wrote in the jail cell, we are to believe that they were written in coloured pencils, crayons, on the back of pieces of paper that for some reason the prison has with pictures on the front for kids to draw on.
Amazing.
Is what she says, but it's pretty bad.
So
it's pretty bad.
Like bullshit.
So Cell 22 is adapted from a colouring book.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would love Jack to read it and give us a review.
Yeah,
I think actually more than that, Sandy, actually but it might be an idea for the conditional release program that we just have a segment devoted to just reading a par or two. That is
I'm doing like book reviews
done.
over on our Patreon, so I read like 2 or 3 chapters,
right?
And then I'll say, like Monica brought peace to Cell Block H by singing "We Are Australian" one day when 2 inmates were arguing with each other.
It sounds riveting stuff.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I just want to know about the breakup. That's it. That's
haven't
all.
come to it yet. It's going to be at the
I would
end.
have flipped forward.
Yeah,
that one.
In news that must have scared the shit out of the splitters, local businesses at Southbank want the red steps removed, which is, I don't know where they're going to go and stand for 2 hours every Saturday rattling off their nonsense. The arrival of med beds is imminent. And few people turned up for Melbourne's worldwide rally for freedom that has just joined the back of the splitters. Coles installed some security gates, which has freaked the fuck out of people. And Coles are now confirmed members of the global cabal.
Done. You're getting actually caged in there. This is the New World Order happening right here, right now.
So while I don't think the New World Order is exactly behind the bullshit going on at Coles and Woolies at the moment in the name of loss prevention, but I will say that capitalism has gone fucking wild and unchecked recently, and since these self-serve checkouts become normal, shit has been anything but normal. I mean, fuck man, I agree with Cookers on this one. I agree with keeping cash alive. I just think they're a bit fucking weird about it. But the different reasons I have here are huge, because these idiots rail on about being anti-fucking communist, because of course they are being programmed by right-wing think tank funded media. But the reality is that government needs to kick Coles and Woolies square in the fucking balls before this shit gets out of control, because it is spiraling hard, and they are taking an inch, taking a mile. Because not only do they have fucking mechanical fences that activate when theft is detected, which essentially traps you in a store, but they have the fucking dumbest AI making these decisions. I had a thing in my trolley, and it was like I was in fucking Ocean's 11, because the camera detected the bag that I had in the trolley and lost its fucking mind. I had to get someone to come over.
So if you bought something else, this happens to me all the time. If I buy something at the butcher's and then I go to the supermarket and put all my things through.
Criminal!
The answer to this, the answer to all of this is to stop using self-serve.
Yes, and that is right. That is right. But that's the thing. It's not the New World Order here. If anything, it's a C-suite that needs to be called into question here. These fucking, piss weak, half-assed execs, wool execs and Coles. I mean, imagine being upset about Coles. But instead of being upset about the company and their policy, you decide to spend your energy directing it towards some sort of government issue or some sort of fictitious organization that's like a round table of Jews you just made up. No, it's Coles. Be upset with Coles. Don't be upset with the New World Order because Coles are being cunts. Coles are cunts. Your weird little idea that it has to be some sort of group of fucking weird, shady Jews, that's on you because you're an idiot. So Coles have decided to implement an anti-theft fog device, which will trigger some crazy smoke show to basically incapacitate people in a supermarket. And look, I editorialize here, and I would say they're doing it just in case you nick a pack of sausages or a can of Coke, but they do say this is meant to be used after hours in some kind of ram raid attack or some shit. But apparently recently in some place in Melbourne, Clayton, I believe it was, this thing just fucking went off. And people lost their fucking minds.
They have had these smoke things in tobacconists for a long time.
Really?
For a long time.
It
for
is
that
so
exact
fucked in the
reason.
head.
Because
it's so
if
ironic that
someone
it's tobacconists as well.
comes through the front door, then it activates it, and the people can't then rob the smoke shop of hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of darts.
You can probably get around that by going to Bunnings and buying a hand blower, to be fair. But
Correct.
Anyway, yeah, I would say that's probably a very effective way of getting around that. But look, this is the thing, right? Like, I'm with the cookers on this. I'm with the cookers on cash. I'm with the cookers on draconian methods of preventing loss at supermarkets that impinge on people's rights. 100%. Fuck them. But the issue here is that if there's a protest against these draconian loss prevention methods, it's going to end up about the Jews. I don't want to be at that protest. You fucking know it will. You know
Yes.
where this is going. It's going to turn out to be something about pedophiles, even though it's mostly about a company that is so powerful that they would rather make you stay behind a barrier than lose a piece of steak. I can't walk next to these people, which is such a shame, because if they could just be slightly normal, we could meet minds. But I can't. I can't walk past this. Fuck. It's not the Jews, guys. It's very rarely the Jews. For fuck's sake.
Finally, we're up to December, and our friend Simeon Boykov has celebrated 12 months in lockdown at the consulate.
At the consulate in Wallara, it'd be a smell of bad shit and
There you
cabbage
go.
coming out of there, wouldn't there?
Oh, yeah, they'll have to scrum that thing for a month.
Rebecca Lloyd can't decide if she wants to run for politics as part of the Liberal Party,
Love her.
take on the government in relation to director ID changes,
Yep.
or become a humanitarian by selling her marketing packages and donating some of the takings.
Why not
And
do
she'll
all of
probably
them?
end up in One Nation.
Correct.
Or One Nation flip.
She got kicked out of One Nation,
Ah,
so
She
we'll see
did.
whether they take
Where
her
do you
back.
go if you get kicked out of One Nation?
Back to the
I
Libs.
know. Yeah, it's like there's certain pubs in Newtown where if you get kicked out of that, like you get kicked out of Kelly's and you're like, just call it a night.
Yeah,
There is
you're done.
nowhere else for you tonight. You are done like a brisket. Just
There's
go home.
another movie that's got them up and about. This one is about our over-reliance on technology.
Yeah,
well,
that's right.
That's
Gotta
what the
watch that.
cabal wants us to think.
Oh,
It's
yes.
actually full of coded messages about the
of course it
impending
is.
Brexit. And I, for
course.
one, definitely believe it because it was produced by Barack Obama.
Was it?
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Was
maybe
that
not.
true? Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah,
It's
he
so
is.
interesting.
They are,
Mhm.
him and Michelle are listed as producers. He
That's
actually
very
did, he actually had the book on his best of in 2021, I think it
this is
was,
based on a book.
and has written like notes to like about production and things like that.
That's
So he
actually one of my
was- he
least
was
favorite things
actually-
about him. He read
was
books, and I
actually
didn't like that.
involved. Yeah.
I think we need Trump back because presidents shouldn't be spending their time reading books. They should be spending their time making decisions.
Yeah.
He's actually written more than he's read.
Yeah.
Well, and
True.
that brings us to Donald Trump, and I'll keep this a little bit shorter than we've actually written. So he is now facing a total of 91 felony counts.
Bless.
And you'd think, in the
Wow.
normal rules of politics, any sensible person would think that his ambition to become not just 45 but 47, to do a Grover Cleveland and serve non-consecutive terms, the only one he's done
Yep.
in the White House, would have died by now. But this is the US, folks, where sensible people are at a premium. But Donald ends the year more likely than not to be elected president. Cookers love Trump, but God only knows why. I mean, he wouldn't pay a bevy of hookers to piss on them if they were on fire. Now, unless the Dems can tap Grandpa Joe and get him to move along, Trump will win the GOP primary in a canter and then take on a bloke who looks like he belongs in a dementia ward to see who becomes the most powerful human being in the world. Biden's polling is terrible, and just when you think he's hit rock bottom, it gets worse. A CNN poll has Trump ahead in the crucial swing state of Michigan by 10 points and in Georgia by 5. So the 6 states that Biden picked up, he's now well behind in five of the 6.
Wow.
And it's possible that the 4 separate indictments, 2 state, 2 federal, will change people's views of him. Not the rusted-on margars, obviously, but run-of-the-mill American independent voters. Or they might just think, as they seem to think now, the orange one has been set up by big government, the DOJ, the FBI, and the
Yes,
Jews.
100%. Oh, definitely the latter. Definitely the
God
latter.
only knows what it means for the world. Putin will be cheering Trump on and doing his darnest to interfere with the result. Ukraine will be crushed. But if he does get elected in the first week of November 2024, the bin fire that was 2023 will turn to a thermonuclear hell for the world in 2024 and beyond. It really is very troubling.
God.
The Yanks are sleepwalking to a cliff, and they plan to take the rest of us on the long jump with them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, my God. I can't even.
Yeah.
So as we record this on the 17th of December, I am keeping an eye out for the live stream that was promised today of the inaugural medbed procedure.
Finally.
Correct. Did you guys know that they don't just cure diseases, though? That you can actually come out with longer hair.
Good.
The ability to speak multiple languages.
Oh, that's good.
Play an instrument.
Wow.
Nice.
I'm in.
I want the hair.
Yeah, I want one.
I mean, I already speak English, so I see no real reason to learn other languages. I've
Correct.
tried it. It's just way too much hassle and really quite pointless. But instrument, I mean, yeah, that'd be cool. The longer hair and the instrument, I mean,
You're in.
I can feel myself getting laid now. It's great.
Mon packed her dad into the camper van for some regional ministries.
Yeah.
Guru has announced plans for a flotilla of boats to
God.
travel up and down the coast.
Which
Yep.
means
And
his
Craig Kelly
A freedom
posted
flotilla.
an epic takedown of Big Rick.
Oh, that was good. That was in your last episode.
Best thing that happened all year.
That was very funny.
I'm
I like the
still
fact
eating
he's,
popcorn after all that.
he's like, I agree with Rick on a lot of things. It's like, oh, is that the best way
Is
to
that the
start
right
this?
opening? Correct.
Yeah. Dunno.
Liz Gunn found herself a whistleblower in New Zealand
Yes, we've done that.
and launched the mother of all revelations, which landed her on the Alex Jones show and has created a little bit of an international scene around websites publishing data that has been obtained illegally. And finally,
I love the
5 in
fact
1
that
New
Maria
Zealanders
Z-
dead. You think people would have noticed?
correct.
Yeah.
Sitting
I
around the
love the
dinner
fact
table, there's 6 people normally there, and all of a sudden you've only got 5.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Did you eat the beef Wellington? Someone's missing.
I just love the fact that Maria Z did a live calling out for a whistleblower. She wants in on this. She's looking
they
for a
all want in on
whistleblower,
this
guys.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's it. She'll find something.
And
She will.
finally,
She's good.
Darren Bergwerf announced his candidacy for Dunkley, which I
It's
am
time.
sure will definitely put an end to Dictator Dan's plans
Which one?
on
Which
going
dictator,
federal,
Dan?
because there's no way Dan Andrews is brave enough to take on the mayor of Preston.
We all know that Dan Andrews was going to run, but he's
Of
not
course
anymore.
he was. No,
Not
he
anymore.
isn't. He's
He's
scared.
been scared
Yep.
off. Yeah.
Running scared like the dog that
He's
he is.
scared.
Yep.
All right, can I ask all of us, what's the story of the year? There's one that I wanted to talk about that was just released. Natasha Robinson in the Australian has just done this, and it's an mRNA vaccine for melanoma. And it's in late stage clinical trials, taken in conjunction with the immunodrug Keytruda, which I've actually had
You
shot
did.
into my veins.
Yes,
It can ward off stage 4, stage 5 melanoma cancer patients for up to 3 years,
That's pretty good.
and then they would be revaccinated and take the Keytruda again.
Oh, I know, a booster. A booster. Would you
A
like your
booster,
19th
yes.
melanoma
It's-
booster?
It's literally going to fry cookers' brains, I think,
It is.
once this does come out. I mean, what are they going to advocate? Are they going to advocate, and we're not just talking about cookers, we're talking about anti-vaxxers, are they going to advocate that people don't receive this treatment, that
Yes.
they die of
Yeah.
melanoma?
Yes.
Yep.
They
Yeah,
will,
don't
won't
use
they?
sunscreen
Yes.
They will, won't they?
No
Yeah.
sunscreen, nothing of this. And but the thing is, it's going to be fascinating because, of course, with this one, what's going to be the fictitious boogeyman that's happening with it? Now, my guess would be it doesn't prevent cancer; it accelerates it, and they'll find some poor bastard who smoked a pack a day for 40 years, and then he dies after getting this jab, and then, of course, the Forest of the Fallen becomes this new thing of the melanoma Forest of the Fallen.
That's it.
It's rinse and fucking repeat.
It is, and it's entirely predictable. But I'd suggest that it's actually quite, a lot worse than it would have been. I mean, we just don't want to sort of downplay the Delta variant of COVID, for example. But here they would be advocating for people who were in stage 4, stage 5 cancer who could go into remission, but won't if they listen to their anti-vax mate.
No, they'll sell them their
Yep.
alternative treatment for that.
Yes, of
Cancer
course they
treatment.
will, Sandy, yeah.
Their lights and their whatnots.
And what was your story of the year, Sandy or Sauce?
For me, it was just 100% hands down was the Rainbow Community Angels. I just rave about them all the time. I just can't not talk about them. They're just fantastic. We finally have people, this movement, the anti-vax movement, turned towards a group of people who have actually confronting them face on. And like, we're all keyboard warriors. We got people online who control them all they like, but these people actually have turned up and faced them and saying no. They're just
good stuff.
They're just they have all my respect. Oh my gosh, I just think that's amazing.
Yeah,
and they do
dangerous
it
too,
in style and in a great way
and uplifting. Yes. And what about you, Sos?
Yeah. I'm going to keep mine light because it's been a very worrying year. Mine is the ongoing war between Rod Cullerton and insects.
Oh, no.
No, you got to.
I have never in my life come across someone who is hated so vehemently by mini beasts.
But he's the guy who ate the fly.
They
maybe he's
rolling up his ass.
Well,
they are out to get him.
If you saw the vid from the inside of that old pub that they're fixing up, you're going to have to think, I don't know if there's any running water there. And so when he gets out in the sun, middle of the day, bit hot and sweaty, he's going to be like a fucking magnet for every kind of bug just wanting to gnaw on him.
There's a lot of poo you can't see, but flies can. And let's just leave it at that.
All right, Joel, take us out.
Mine is less a story and more of a sentiment, which is, as I said earlier, I really hope a lot of this shit would have gone away, or at least have calmed down this year. Because it felt like there was this peak of disinformation during the pandemic, but those same forces have just simply pivoted to new causes. And they're never good ones. It's never, okay, cool, now we're going to make the world a better place. It's like bullying trans people and pushing these fucking weird culture wars. While somehow, this just never, ever stops confusing me. Brainwashing hippies who used to turn up to green rallies, environmental causes, into fiercely campaigning for the extended use of fossil fuels because climate change is a Jewish hoax. Come the fuck on. So, of course, and I don't want to harp on about this because I don't want to be a single track guy, but like Elon Musk taking over Twitter has provided a medium to spread disinformation and hatred that we simply have never seen before and we did not fucking need. We're on the cusp of an AI revolution, which is going to see an agenda.
It's only going to get worse.
Look, you can have a situation where you can basically be a disinformation farm with a couple of computers and an internet connection. It's mental. We are so powerful with technology, with so little resources. The idea of what state actors can get up to is fucking terrifying. So yeah, we can now be in a situation where fuckwits on 4chan are now the most powerful people on the fucking planet because they know the very bare basics of Python to be able to code their way around fucking mitigation techniques on bots. This is scary because they're not good people. So of course what's going to happen is we're going to see the most intriguing and most titillating things being spread the fastest and being the most subscribed to, which is never going to be something about, say, taxing the rich to give people opportunities who may not have them in an immediate sense. It's going to be racism. It's going to be hatred. It's going to be bullying. And it's going to be fucking frustrating to watch. So, look, I think this time last year, end of last year, I felt pretty optimistic. I thought, look, we can always find a new way. We were even talking about this so much. Oh, what are you going to do when cookers disappear? Oh, well, we've also always got like cool, interesting things to cover. The world is a fascinating place. No, they're still there. They're still everywhere. Unfortunately, this is the thing that's killing me. The war for the hearts and minds of normies is just gradually being more and more lost. I thought that was going to absolutely stop. And this is largely thanks to Space Karen. Fuck you, Elon Musk, for so many fucking things. But partially also thanks to brilliant opportunists like Maria Z, who see endless potential in selling idiots things like unvaccinated beef and, of course, taking her cut. I mean, unvaccinated, just fuck you. It's so annoying. So it's not all bad news in this regard, right? Like Pete Evans, for example, he tried to come back. He failed. Kyle uncancelled him on radio. That didn't work. He still is doing maybe like 100 posts a week into a fucking abyss of nothing. He's just a guy who has people on his property and they give him money. Who gives a shit? People like him once their mainstream media profiles are yanked away are just angry old men mumbling to themselves on Telegram. This is a good thing. The idea that Pete Evans could have come back from this with his little sort of comeback campaign was terrifying. Didn't happen. And you look at O'Neig's, right? He's pivoted hard to MLM for a very good reason. Of course, he's not smart enough to be Maria Z, and Maria Z does exist. But the onegs.com failure shows that while the sort of right-wing media space is lucrative for some, and it does exist, it's not just as easy as it used to be. You can't just be onegs.com and everyone's going to be like, yeah, man, I'll give you $10 a month to just like suck. Like, it just doesn't work, which is great. Also, partially just because he's useless. So, look, I would say that 2024 looks fucking dire in a lot of ways, and I don't want to make the end of this episode sad. Anti-Semitism is through the fucking roof.
I'm glad you don't want to make it sad, Joe.
Well, I mean, look, it is what it is, man.
What sad sounds like.
I am being realistic here, because the trans panic thing is not going away. It's just gaining momentum. And, look, it just feels like there's, like, a real sense of defeat on the horizon. But what I will say is that pivots happen radically, things change. We are still the sort of like, in the majority as such. Cookers and lunatics are still a minority figure with loud voices, but when the world's richest man becomes a cookie, you do start getting a bit of a raised heartbeat. That's fair. I'm just hoping that what happens is these fucking idiots who talk over and over and over about ivermectin actually take some, and it kills the fucking worms living in their brains that turn them into monosyllabic right-wing robots that hate stuff for no good reason. But if this trajectory stays the same and Trump is actually elected in 2024, I mean, I don't know, guys. Let's go start a farm. I'll sell you a block of land for $30,000. Yeah. I don't fucking know.
Oh my God, we're going off grid. Excellent.
Going off grid. I mean, we lost. Let's go.
So on that uplifting.
Yes. Yes. Well,
uplifting ceremony.
Was I wrong?
Was I wrong?
No.
Hope you're not driving around curvy roads at the moment. Or
I'm
going
not
over
driving.
bridges or anything
No,
like
we
that.
mean
listeners.
the people listening who are just driving themselves off a cliff or into a wall.
Well, I was going to say, because I'm half cut, so I should not be driving. I'm
based on all of that.
Legal to drive.
So that is a wrap.
Yes.
And a huge thank you to everyone who's listened to both the shows and those who have contributed in one way or another.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
And Tinfoil Tales wishes everyone a safe holiday period. Enjoy time with your family and friends, including your little furry ones.
Yeah.
And the same. Very, very best wishes to all our listeners at the Conditional Release program. Enjoy your Christmas, your holidays, some relaxing time with family and friends. That's precisely what I'll be doing.
Yep, that's the
My
plan.
little granddaughter's first Christmas, which she'll never remember, but she will be. She will just be, we'll be presenting gifts to her like she's a goddess on Christmas Day. And
I must say, anytime I buy a gift for a kid under 12 months, I'm like, why am I? Okay, fine.
It's for the pictures on Facebook.
It is for the pictures on Facebook. It 100% is. Yeah, have a Merry Christmas, guys. And look, if 2024 is going to suck as much as I think it's going to, one thing I can say is at least there'll be tons of things to cover.
Yep.
Great podcast content. Look at the bright side of life, guys. We're going to be going for ages. Every time someone on Patreon gives us like a year's membership, I'm like, oh, fuck. I guess you have to go for a year then, don't we?
Look, we'll be all across it. It's going to be huge here. It's going to be huge. US presidential election. War in Gaza, war in Ukraine.
Can I just take like a year's worth of like
probably an election in the UK. There's one due by January 2025, but it'll probably be in the latter part of 2024. There's a prospect that Bojo will run on a ticket with the UKIP idiot.
Oh no, Farage?
It's only rumoured. Sunak cannot survive, I wouldn't think, to the next election. So it's just so much happening. And
Sauce will still be saying it's Saturday.
I haven't done. Did you notice I didn't do it this week?
No.
What?
No footage. No filming.
Very sad. Oh, well. Well, when it comes down to it, I think that these bored, weird miscreants are going to continue being bored, weird, and funny. And if they don't, well, thank God for that. I will refund all your year subscriptions and we'll call it a fucking day. Please. Give me a reason. Give me a reason to stop.
Thanks, guys. Everyone.
See you, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Appreciate you. Bye.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.